Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Highly Jewish Podcast in association with Joyce. I'm Tanya Tsikhanovsky, and this is Jonah Platt, the guy that has the #1 Jewish podcast in the world, being Jewish. Love to hear more about that, obviously, today, but follow us for this little coffee ride, and we'll take it from here.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Obviously, I really want to get to know how you started your podcast and what led you to really begin it, but I also would love to sort of know your obviously you're Jewish. Were you always raised like being really passionate about being a Jew? Like how did that sort of come about?
My being Jewish has always been a very core part of my identity. The word I would use is engaged. That's sort of the word that I use generally to sort of distinguish between people who are, deeply connected to their Judaism in one of 100 million ways or not. It's like, is the switch on or off? It's engaged. So, always engaged. And that's a family thing. I was born into a family where my grandparents, heavily engaged Jews. My great-grandparents, who I never met, obviously engaged. My grandparents were all leaders in their Jewish communities. My aunts and uncles and parents, all engaged Jews, leaders in their Jewish community.
So engaged doesn't necessarily mean like religious.
Exactly.
But just involved in the Jewish community as a whole. Like cultural.
Or not even involved in the community. Just like if you're an engaged Jew, it means it matters to you in some way. My mom's side, like a little bit more observant than my dad's side. If we're talking halacha.
Sure.
But it was always there. It was like always core to my family. So, Shabbat every Friday, went to Jewish day school, Jewish sleepaway camp. My mom, who was the most recent chairwoman of Jewish Federations of North America.
Love that.
Thanks
to the Federation, my family came here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my parents immigrated here as refugees, in the USSR.
Mm-hmm.
So it was around 1979, actually, thanks to the Jewish Federation.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I love how interconnected.
They're unbelievable. And, really what they do and have been doing since they were formed 100-something years ago is they pool the community's money and help spend it where people need it. Yeah. A lot of the time that means funding other existing organizations and programs and stuff. I think a lot of people think like it's just one giant, bank vault, but really they're not doing everything themselves. They just get it to where it needs to go.
Sure.
So being Jewish always a major thing. All my early warm, fuzzy childhood memories are with my friends from Jewish day school, my friends from Jewish camp, or my spending holidays with this group of cousins, or these grandparents, or all of that. So very, very lucky in that regard.
And how did that affect your career path? I mean, I know how being an actor, has that always been something you've been doing, or
Yeah, that was, my family, I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and all 5 of us were raised on musical theater. My parents, they grew up loving musical theater. They met in college, and one of the things that really brought them together was their shared love of the performing arts. They were both performers in college. My dad directed my mom in a show in the Quad.
Love that.
Yeah. And so they raised us all on musical theater. Like that was what we would watch at home. We were watching Gabby's Dollhouse. We were watching Sound of Music. And in the car driving around, we weren't listening to the radio. We were listening to Miss Saigon, Rent, the day it came out.
That was so good, by the way.
What, Rent?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I literally have a memory of we were going down to Laguna Beach, which is an hour and a half south of LA, where we used to go all the time for Labor Day weekend and Memorial Day and stuff like that. And I remember Rent just dropped, and my dad, it was me and my older sister and my dad, I don't know if my younger sister was there, but he was like, this is the great new musical, and we listened to it all the way down, all the way up. And if you know Rent, it's pretty adult, a lot about AIDS and sex and all this stuff. I didn't really get all of it, but the music was cool. But I have that distinct memory of this just came out. We listened to Rent. So yes, always performing.
Musical theater is such a Jewish thing too, obviously.
Well, it is. The stat, I don't have the exact number, but it's something like 95% of all Broadway musicals have been written either composed lyricist or book writer is a Jew.
Yeah.
It's just what we do, we're storytellers. That's how we deal with our lives and work stuff out. And the way, and this is something I actually learned through my podcast. I learned this from Jason Robert Brown, talking about Yiddish theater in the early 20th century. That ended up becoming essentially the style of theater that we now know today as the theater. It could have been kabuki, could have been opera, it could have been whatever. Everybody had their own sort of flavor.
Sure.
But the one that America grabbed onto was the Yiddish style, which is, you're sitting here, there's a proscenium, like we're performing a story in characters in this way to you, and like that's the format.
Wow, I never realized that was the issue.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
That's it.
Well, I mean, I think it's amazing that, so often, like, if we're really that deep into, like, musical theater being at over, like, 90% of our involvement, we do a really good job of doing so without being overtly Jewish throughout it all. Like, half the time, like, I guess, like, our hands are involved in these storylines that don't have Jews in it at all, or at least, like, they probably have Jewish touches, but that's only familiar to a Jew if they're recognizing it. But it's not like overtly Jewish, so like I don't think people would necessarily know that stat.
Yeah, I don't think they would either. And it's also I was gonna say there's like maybe a little bit less of it happening now. Like if there was any time in history where there were less Jews involved in Broadway, it's literally right now.
And you think that's obviously because of October 7th?
No. I think, no, it's not like Jews have been pushed out. It's sort of in a little bit, this is what has happened in a lot of industries. I mean, I hear this in finance. I hear this in the movie business. You hear this in Broadway, where it's, you see this in medicine. Jews create these institutions that they essentially had to create because they weren't allowed into other institutions. So they're doing their own thing. They create these wonderful institutions, and they open the doors to everybody. They don't have to stay just for Jews, but they are created just by Jews.
Yeah.
And then they let everybody else in to participate. Great. And now we're sort of seeing as the pendulum has swung towards Jews, not counting as a minority, being lumped in as white. They're starting to get sort of whitewashed out. We are starting to get whitewashed out of our own industries and our in our own situations. And I don't think necessarily consciously, on the whole, like I don't think there's a nefarious group of people like, how do we push the Jews out of the theater? It's just people are wanting to make room for other voices, which is great, but it's there is a bit of like, you've had your opportunity and your voice is not a voice worth spotlighting in a way, which can be upsetting.
I feel like so much of that is influenced by like how the social justice movement has morphed, throughout the years, and how, the whole viewpoint of like oppressor versus oppressed, and we were so easily clumped in the group with oppressors because of, our global socioeconomic status and our perceived notion of being white, and we were automatically put in that category. And because of like groupthink, like I don't think the arts have as much appreciation for individualism anymore. Everything is all about the collective, and it's unfortunate. At least I've been seeing that, and maybe that's a big part of the reason why that's happening.
Yeah, it's it's hard to, I don't want to overgeneralize because, again, like for example, the theater here in LA, the Geffen Theater, it was a great theater. They are showcasing so many different kinds of voices in all of their shows, but in a way, that approach is also like, there's like two sides to that coin. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like, we have to just, it's like almost aggressively diverse.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely. Everything feels forced almost in some sort of way.
Yeah, there's like a little bit of, as long, like, I don't want us to be losing out on stuff that is of equal merit or worth because it doesn't check a certain box, is what I mean to say. But I think it's great that we are starting to learn and be exposed to and giving opportunity to so many different kinds of voices and experiences is a great thing and a unifying thing, as long as that's the guise under which it's being executed, and not of like as you say, in a forced way.
Yeah.
Of this voice is more important than this voice.
Well, that's what I actually like really appreciate about the way that you run your podcast and the amount of guests that you have from very diverse trains of thought, you know, and I think that especially now in our political climate, I mean, it's really hard to find people that are willing to have a conversation, you know, and that are willing to look at, you know, things, I mean, especially politically, like, and I don't know how it is, how you feel, but like, as, I don't know, if so many of my dear friends are Democrats, I am an ex-Democrat, and as a Republican now, I feel like it's hard sometimes to talk to the other side because the other side doesn't want to talk to me. And so I wonder, I don't know how you identify, if you're comfortable saying you're where you are politically, but I imagine you're a little lefter than me.
I wouldn't consider I wouldn't say I'm on the right, so then that would probably make me further left than you.
Sure.
I'm politically non-binary, you know, politically fluid, which is where I feel like so many liberal Jews like me are sitting today. People who have been lifelong Democrats, which I have been, who are like, and I'm actually sort of grateful for it because like it's sort of shaken me out of the dogmatic approach to this stuff where it's not like I'm so not, I'll do whatever my team says,
sure,
which is better. I wish that everybody should be that way. To me, it's like, if I like what you're saying, I'll support it. If I like who you are, I'll support you. If I don't, I won't. And
that's how it used to be, though. I feel like I really felt like even if you were a part of a certain party, you were still able to have like a difference in opinion on certain things. But now I feel like you have to be one side or the other, and that makes it so hard.
I think I would say yes and no. Like, I don't want to sort of over idealize our past. Like, I do think some people talk about like, America, we used to get along like so well politically,
okay,
you know what I mean?
That's
like
a little,
right? It's like we didn't. But like it was still very much an us versus them. But I do think the difference was like there was just like a little bit more human decency and respect in political discourse.
Sure. Yeah.
That I certainly agree with. And it's slowly, I mean, I feel like it started sort of really slipping away around the Clinton-Lewinsky stuff was sort of a one sort of big turning point that I think people will look back on or already have as like, wow, we're really just sort of like partisan going after each other. Like, like think about it now. It seems insane, right? Like the entire world, the country stopped because this guy maybe got a blowjob in his office. Like, and now we have a president who's like, you know, grab him by the pussy.
Yeah.
It's like we're in a totally different world now. So I feel like that started that sort of slope. And then I think, you know, love him or hate him, I think Donald Trump, you know, he's done some good things, some bad things. One of the worst things he did, I think, for this country is really shift the level of discourse into normalizing just, you know, abject disrespect and you know, just talking trash about people and having that be sort of funny and okay, and and othering people and being like hating the other side is totally cool. And yeah, I mean, you'll see it when you look at it's certainly when the history books are written, people will see that turning point of, oh wow, people really started to go at each other once this guy started coming onto the scene because he made it okay.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, I do 1000% agree with that. I think that, you know, everyone who has that much influence also has, I think, some form of responsibility to try to be morally just and good. And I do think that a lot of ways in which he chooses to communicate really goes against that and really takes away from, I think, a lot of the good that he does do. And I don't love a lot of the things that he says. I will say, and this is not in defense of him, this is more commentary about the other side. One of the things that I feel so upset about, as someone who was once very much a Democrat, I worked for Hillary's campaign against Trump. I was the person that was writing statuses that said, I'm leaving this country if Trump wins.
Right.
Okay, so this was the extreme that I was on before.
Yeah.
And I would say that, you know, I don't love a lot of the things that come out of Trump's mouth, but a lot of the things that he does, especially when it comes to relations with Israel, especially he does with his attitude towards anti-Semitism on campuses, aligns with what I need, right?
Sure.
The Democrats, from my experience, said all of the things I needed them to say way back when it came to women, when it came to gay rights, when it came to freedom of choice. I mean, any of that, they had all of the correct talking points, and they didn't protect me as a Jew.
Right.
And so for me, it was almost like I'm not happy about the way that we are now talking in the political like sphere anymore. I don't like it. I think it's wrong. But I also would rather have people speak poorly and behave correctly than sell me something with proper words, but not back it up in action. Don't tell me that you care about minorities, and then I, as a Jew, we have more hate crimes against us than any other religious group.
Yeah.
And we're getting ignored. And so that, for me, is where I'm like, you know what, like, I think that's probably why the side of, we're not going to be politically correct anymore wins so much now. I don't know if it's necessarily because we all want to be assholes. I think maybe it's because we just feel like words don't have so much weight. And especially seeing so much of the other side scream, this is genocide, this is apartheid, this is that, this is this, like fascism. I mean, we're throwing out words that don't actually match up with what's happening. And so I feel like words really don't matter. So yes, I completely agree that Trump opened up this Pandora's box. But I think at this point it's on us to do something about it and to sort of change it. And it's unfortunate because we're not in terms of action or in terms of words.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I have to, my hope there is that once he's off of the, he's, unless he tries to follow through with his threat of going for 3 terms,
I honestly, like, that's when I'm really going to lose my mind, because, like, I care about the Constitution, and I really don't think he's, like, I don't think
so
he's
either.
gonna
I
do
can't
that.
imagine that's a thing.
I really can't imagine that's a thing.
Holy moly, look at how popular this Starbucks is with the young folks.
Oh my God, well, there's also the coffee bean over there that's a draft too.
Yeah, I don't care.
Opt for that.
Yeah,
to
whatever.
See what coffee, because we're going to be here till tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, that was like, although they're not in their cars, but still.
At least they're not protesting Israel.
That's
so
right.
Starbucks.
Yeah, they haven't seen us roll out.
So true. So funny.
They're all in their pajamas. All the kids wear pajamas now.
I feel like we did too. What year did you graduate?
I mean, I graduated high school in 2004.
I was 05.
There was definitely some of those like plaid pajamas was a thing a little bit, but like literally it's like that is the uniform for teens these days. It's like baggy sweatshirt, sweatpants, girls are in like a crop top or spaghetti strap, and everybody just looks like they're in their pajamas. Look at this.
Oh my God,
they're like literally.
I wish you guys could see this.
Right?
That is hilarious.
It's exactly what all those kids are wearing.
Oh my God.
All of them.
That actually is full-on sleepwear.
I'm telling you, they're wearing. They look like they are all sleeping, going to sleep.
That is so funny.
My wife and I always, old people fuss about that.
I mean, you would think it would make things cheaper, but I imagine those are going to be really expensive.
Right, designer pajama bottoms.
Oh my God, crazy. Well, let's see. Well, how old is your kid now?
I have 3 kids.
You have 3 kids? Oh my God,
do.
I've lost count.
My kids are almost 7, 3, and 8 months.
Oh God. So you haven't slept in quite a while.
Well, it's funny. My 8-month-old is an amazing sleeper. She does amazing. My son is pretty good. It's the middle one, my daughter. She essentially sleeps in our bed every night, which is very cute, and I enjoy. Like, we were like snuggling all through the night last night, and she woke up this morning and said, "I love you so much," many times, which was so nice. But I don't get a quality full night's sleep, so it's a trade-off.
I swear I saw an entrance.
I think it's on that side, right?
Wow.
And this is a separate property here.
I'm so glad now that everyone's going to know that I have absolutely no sense of direction, but that literally was like right.
I think if you go out and then make another right, you're going to
do that. Wow.
Okay. Coffee beans started by Jews because they needed a kosher place to get coffee.
I'll get that.
Yep.
See, and then of course, now, is it still kosher now?
I think so. Maybe not all of them, but like definitely like that's the coffee spot that I feel like the Orthodox folks go to because it's kosher. Yeah.
I'm so glad I knew that. Now I'll go there more often.
There you go.
I love that.
I think it's still owned by the same family. I could be wrong, but I know that was the origin story.
So how do you deal with the whole? And I think you actually did an episode about this, about like Zionism being anti-Zionism being anti-Semitism.
Mm-hmm.
I know there are people that are close to you, as there are people close to me, that I don't know, maybe are say that they love Israel but don't act like they're Zionists. It's hard. I mean, I know people that tell me that they love Israel but they can't stand the government, so they're not going to support anything that Israel does. And I don't know. I guess the question that I have is, how similar to the issue of being a Democrat versus a Republican, how do you feel like you bridge those conversations? Like how can I get someone to actually talk to me and not think that I hate them, and how do I at this point actually talk to them and not think they're crazy? Because I used to say I don't have judgment, but that's a lie. I definitely do. I definitely look at people now and think you're bananas, and now I'm like, wow, I've become what I've said I don't want to be. And so it's hard because it's like you're getting pushed out of one side, you're getting welcomed into the other, and so of course like you want to feel all warm and fuzzy, and so then you fall into that, and then you're like, oh, but a lot of things here aren't great either. And so like I feel like so many people just need to be a lot more honest about how we feel about everything versus being very loud about certain things and quiet about others. And I think you do a great job of that, and I think it's great that you're able to sort of not necessarily be neutral, but the opposite, be equal when it comes to looking at everything on all sides. And I guess like I have a hard time, I don't know, reaching across the aisle in an effective way instead of like an aggressive way. So I love some opinions.
Well, first of all, so I say give me a little too much credit. I feel like I've never said that I don't judge people, but I will say I try to withhold judgment until I've got the facts, and I've gone to the source as much as I can. The key, you sort of hit on one of the big keys. So when I talk about having difficult conversations, I have what I call my 5 C's. And one of them is calm. Like, you can't come in hot. You can't come in aggressive. Okay. And it's sort of, let's take even a step back. So like the 2 steps before we can get to the 5 C's. One is, you have to be choosy about who you even try to have this kind of conversation with. I think there's sort of 2 levels to these conversations, or let's call them 3. One is the conversation you shouldn't be having at all, which is if the only reason you're going to talk to this person is to argue with them about Israel, like that's not a conversation worth having. Sure. So it's like if it's your person you were in a college class with 15 years ago and you like haven't seen them in 10 years and they post something negative and you're like, I got to talk to this person and change their mind, like come on, like just don't take the time. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
Because, and here's the second part that is really important for people to know, like you're not going to change anybody's mind. Certainly not, at least in the first conversation. And so the goal with these conversations, you can't have an agenda. The only goal has to be the preservation of the relationship. That's what has to be the goal, which is why, again, like it needs to be somebody you would be going out to dinner with anyways, right? who you would care about preserving a relationship. And so the reason you're talking to them is because essentially you want to feel seen. You want to, for yourself, out of curiosity, like, are you a jihadist? Like, they're not. 99% of certainly the people in your life and my life, or people watching this, like, they aren't actually jihadists. So it helps to sort of understand, at least for me, it's been helpful to be like, oh, you're not a jihadist, you've just been ideologically captured and you're really seeking belonging, or your progressive circle is more important to you than your Jewish identity and you're willing to forsake one for the other, or you just actually don't really think that much about this at all and your understanding is very shallow. And
if it's the second option, if it is, how are we okay with that being a reason?
What, that their progressive group is more important to them than their Jewish?
Yes, like
it's not our decision to make for a person, you don't have to be okay with it, but like you kind of do have to be okay with it.
Hi, how are you? One moment, please. Okay, what do you? Good, thanks. How are you?
Oh, these are all so fancy, all these things.
Right, it looks like it.
I only know what I get at the Starbucks. I usually get like a little ristretto cortado thing. Do they do like a cortado?
Do you do a cortado? No, a cortado. What?
That's it.
No.
They don't do that. All right. I will keep it so you go first while I decide the simple thing I'm going to do.
Okay, I think I will do iced cookie butter latte. Let's just try to have all of the calories in a day in one drink. Yeah, let's do that.
Absolutely delicious. Latte.
Oh yeah, the iced cookie butter latte. Thank you. No, it's fine. Regular sweet is fine. I'll use this as my dessert for the day. I appreciate it.
I'll just have
A shot of espresso. Do they do that?
Can you do a shot of espresso? Just one shot? Do you want to do a double? No. No, just one. I think that you're hungry. Why? No. All right. No, I think we're good. All right. Thank you so much. Insane. It's like 500 calories. Trying.
Yeah. Well, so I said there's a bacon, egg, and cheese, so this one's not so kosher.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe not anymore.
I wish it said bacon. That would have been.
Yeah. Oh, you were saying, how can we be okay with that? Like, you can be upset by that for sure, and it's concerning. But again, it's like, so like the conversations I've been able to have with people, what it's done is it's allowed me to preserve the relationship. So like now when I'm together with these people, we don't have to talk about this anymore. I don't have to wonder like what they're thinking or like where they're coming from, and stuff, because like we've put it out on the table. And you know, it's like sad but true, but like generally the people who come to these thoughts are just not thinking that critically or deeply about it. Otherwise they wouldn't come to these conclusions. And so you sort of have to just like chalk it up, and this is where the judgment part for me does come in. So I don't know that I can feel quite as close in my heart to these people anymore the way that I did before.
Yeah.
But I can still love them and enjoy being around them in the settings we're used to being in together. And just make, it'd be different. And this I've not had experience with. If somebody I really cared about was like on the front lines at the protest in a kafia kind of a thing, like that's a different thing. I mean, that is disruptive.
Yeah.
And that I don't know necessarily that you can deal with somebody like that. You still have to try this methodology, I think. And really be curious and like really honestly help me understand like how you've arrived at where you're at. People, this is like proven factually that like once somebody feels heard, their walls come down a little bit and they're much more open to hearing things. We're just not so great at listening. We're much better at like thinking about what I want to say and rebuttal to you while you're talking. So working on that, coming at it from a calm, dispassionate place. If you're already like amped up, it's not going to go well.
Yeah. Yep, that's really true.
And remembering, I said there was like 3 types of conversations. One's the one you don't have at all. One is the one who's someone you really care about. And then there's like the casual ones. So, like I had a really great conversation. It wasn't about Israel, but like I had a really great conversation with a Republican a couple years ago who I met at the bar at a restaurant in New York. And like we ended up sharing dinner and like having a bottle of wine together.
Nice for you, butter latte.
Yes, thank you so much.
And, it was because the stakes, I guess it's about the stakes.
The espresso shot, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
The stakes have to be low, right? Like whatever this conversation is, you're not solving the Middle East. You're not going to fix America.
You see the espresso shot too?
Oh yeah, on the side though. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Did he put it in your drink?
No, I don't think so. I think it was just on it. I think
he's very confused.
I think he's confused, but I do think he knows. Yeah, I think he knows it's coming. Done.
Whatever.
I mean, if not, they'll have an extra strong.
Yeah, you're going to be full of sugar and caffeine.
Oh.
We were just talking about something and I wanted to.
These conversations. I was saying, the third kind is like super casual, so low stakes that it's like fun. You know what I mean? It's just like, who gives a shit? We have to be able to talk about this stuff like we talk about the weather, like we talk about like sports rivalries. Like It just, and I understand for, a lot of the things are very deeply felt, and I'm not saying you have to conceal that or pretend that's not the case. But in certain settings, like wouldn't it be great if we could get to the place where I know you're on this side of a thing, I'm on this side of a thing, but we love each other. So like, let's make fun of each other and talk about it. And like, I'm not trying to change your mind. We're just talking about the thing that we talk about or whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think that works beautifully with, politics because when you look at politics or as parties, no, you don't just have like one rubric. It shouldn't be that way, right? Everyone has 1.5 million different opinions. But what's difficult for me would be the Zionist and anti-Zionist piece.
Yeah.
It's I'm fine with someone not being okay with the government of Israel. I'm fine with someone, not liking Netanyahu. But it's, for me, it's not my job to judge the government. It's my job to want it to exist, and to not feel like every time that Israel does anything that its existence has to be debated.
Totally.
And that's what's hard for me to find. I don't know, to find common ground with people. And I've lost friends that I've had for 30 years that have, they were the ones that iced me out. But then when I look back on it in return, I'm like, I honestly, good. Because frankly, I don't know how I could maintain being friends with someone that doesn't think that Israel has a right to exist and that, doesn't think that that to me, anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. And I don't understand how someone can be my friend or claim to care about me and yet, not care about.
Were you able to have that conversation with any of them?
No, because they literally just told me I don't want to be friends with you. I've had that happen twice. I've had 2 friends tell me that we see what you're posting and I can't get down with people that support genocide.
I would urge, obviously that's so painful. I feel like it's worth, if it's somebody you really care about, it's worth giving it a shot and saying, hey, listen, like, I don't think you understand where I'm coming from on this. This isn't like a political, this isn't a dinner table position that I came to because I read a current event on my phone. Like, this is my life.
Mm-hmm.
This is who I am. And you're, as my friend, I want you to understand I feel under attack. My people feel threatened. When you say XYZ, it makes me feel like you want me to not exist. You want my family to not exist. Like, that's crazy, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I feel like we have to give folks that one chance. And then if they blow that one chance, then good riddance,
See, okay. So I hear that. And I do want to say that I agree somewhat. But this is where I start to not agree with that. These are the people that I'm talking are people that have known me since I was like 12.
Yeah.
Okay. And so if I'm so easily, like, you're able to discard me so quickly and you don't even want to have a conversation with me. If you see something that I say, you don't like what I say, and instead of trying to have a conversation with me, you're like, you know what, you're not even worth my friendship. So at that point,
that's fair too. That's why would I want to be friends with a person like that?
Right, or like, why do I want to chase? Like, and that's what I feel like we as Jews have always done so much good for everyone, and yet it's upsetting then that I don't know, like when I'm in this position where I'm so easily thrown away, it's hard to not agree with this like notion that we as Jews are just hated, that's like the baseline, or that the hate is sort of always there, is just contained until there's a convenient moment in time or in history where people are permitted to show and display the way that they hate us, and so they do. Because otherwise, why else wouldn't, with someone who I've been friends with for so long but is like eaten at my table, has slept at my house, has known my family, and mind you, I haven't just been Jewish recently. They've known me, my whole life as a Jew. I've lived in Israel. People knew that. And so to now, like, that's it. A couple of social media posts and we're not going to be friends with you. So I'd like to think, they just got hijacked by a movement. And I'd like to think that they just don't know what's better. But if that's all it takes for someone to just be like, then how do I not think that there's some predisposed anti-Semitism just waiting to boil over?
I don't know that There could be. There certainly could be. It could be. I just don't think that's the only factor, but like definitely, it's sort of like how certain diseases are both genetic and environmental.
Sure.
So like yes, like maybe there are these little kernels that are in there already, but I think without the propaganda and the mass manipulation, those things would remain hidden and questioned and doubted. But then when the right propaganda and messaging comes along, it sort of validates those thoughts. And the fact that it's socially acceptable to hold those views, to have this kind of behavior, allows people to go for it. I mean, there's also such a thing as just shitty people.
Yeah.
And it sounds like this friend of yours is a shitty person. I mean, I think there are plenty of people who are anti-Zionist and wouldn't do that, as there are people who are anti-Zionist and do that. Like you can be an anti-Zionist and not tell your friend of 30 years, I don't like your posts, we're never talking again.
Sure. Do you think, though, that as someone who holds those views, they could be friends with someone like me? And, like, could there be a common ground? Like, if that's where, like, I remember...
Oh my God, this is like the worst espresso of all time. Coffee bean sucks. It's not your fault. It's like, it just tastes like burn. It's like, tastes like they burnt a piece of toast and scraped it into a cup with hot water.
I mean, this is definitely not the best drink I've had.
I just wish they were Starbucks.
Well, that explains why they...
That's why the crowd is at Starbucks and not at the Coffee Bean.
Exactly. It's, so I don't know if you know, but I'm running for city council in West Hollywood.
I didn't know that. Oh, snap.
Yeah, so
wow.
I'm trying to bring some form of Zionism and some normalcy back to WeHo.
That's awesome.
But I bring it up because I go to an event pretty much every month there, and it's at a cannabis club. It varies between the woods and an artistry, but it's basically a weed tasting instead of a wine tasting.
Nice.
It's high end, and it's run by Israelis.
Cool.
And it's great. I mean, the whole point is to show off the cannabis community as actual professionals. You dress well. Like, this isn't just like your regular get on the couch and get high.
Right.
You're using concentrates and you use vapor, so you're not like smelling like smoke. It's actually a very like nice and high classy event, and that's where if you've never done cannabis, it's a great way to get into it.
Cool.
But I bring it up because it's obviously it's run by Israelis, right? And so for me, I mean, I want to support. Obviously, they're Zionists, and I go there, and I always wear like my Israel American flag pin with my suits. That's like part of my attire at this point.
Nice.
And I never go anywhere without it. So I'm inside and I'm wearing it, and I see someone with a keffiyeh. And when I tell you how uncomfortable I became and how I was like, I do not want to be in here. I don't want him in here. I want him out. And I became a Karen right away. And I like went up to the owner and I'm like, do you see this guy? Like, get him out. And he goes, I can't do that. He was like, he knows that we're Israeli. He knows that we're Zionists. And he knows that this is the event that we're throwing. And if he's still welcome to, wants to be here, we have to let him be here. And I remember being like, right away, I was like, you know what, that's great. And that helps us in so many ways because no one is hiding who they are to appease the other side. Both sides are visible. I'm sitting at a table across from this guy. I'm visible as a Jew. I'm visible as a Zionist. I'm sure that's making him wildly uncomfortable. And so when I think about, if I am fortunate enough to serve my city, if I am fortunate enough to be elected for city council, then I would also take the responsibility to serve the people that I don't necessarily like so much. And that's going to be inclusive of someone like that. Yeah. Right? And so for me, one of the things that I'm really focusing on is not taking seats away from people, but just making sure that people like me always have a seat. Yeah. And I think that that's been a problem where we have all spent so much time trying to ban people from certain things and say, well, you're not welcome here anymore, and you're canceled out from this space. And by the end of it, no one's going to have a space to walk into. We're all just going to be on an island alone. And so as much as I was so uncomfortable with that keffiyeh and I never want to see it, I'll certainly feel a lot more comfortable if I'm able to wave my Israeli flag without someone coming and ripping it off either.
Right.
And I think that that's what we should at least be pushing as much as we can. And that might be a good first step, or a step, in the direction of at least some form of normalcy when it comes to our divisive opinions.
Yeah. Yes. I think, again, it comes down to stakes. It's like, of course, that person in the keffiyeh is going to give you pause. You're going to go hot in the cheeks. It's like going to make you, but like, what's actually at stake for them being in that room, right? It's like, they can't take away your personhood.
Sure.
And, unless we're talking about somebody who's going to start an altercation or be physically violent or whatever, and if they're just going to go about their business, they're just going to go about their business. And it's like it's an agree to disagree kind of thing. I feel like we have to get a lot more comfortable with agree to disagree in the public square.
Yes.
You don't have to be okay with it once you get back home and you're inside, and then you can bitch and moan about jerks all you want. But while we're all in public together, it's like, okay, we can try this type of cannabis together and relate on the things that we relate on, and not have to just focus on the one thing that we don't relate on.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I mean, you were all able to survive that evening, and I think that helped, at least a little bit, in the term of like having open discourse. I mean, the next time there's an event and I see that keffiyeh, I'm still going to be bothered and triggered. I don't think I'll ever not be, but it's better.
Did you go up and introduce yourself?
No, and I probably...
You should. Exposure therapy. Just go for it. Let's see what happens.
So here's the thing with that. Maybe I should. Maybe you're right with that, because in that kind of environment, it's probably the safest time to do it. No one's in some kind of group, no one's getting riled up to fight, and like you said, everyone starts from the place of calm. So you're right, that probably could have been a good opportunity. My experience has been pretty terrible with people that work keffiyehs, and it's not... I'm not even out there looking for them. I say this as someone who's attended gay events and has been told numerous times to leave because I'm wearing a shirt that says Israel on it. I have never, I will say, as much as I look at keffiyehs and I hate them, I have never walked up to someone wearing one and said, please leave. Of course, I obviously went to the owner of that event and wanted him to kick me
right. You say please leave.
I said, you please do it. I was definitely passive aggressive with that. But I've never gone up to someone and told them to their face to get out. I've never verbally attacked them in any way, shape, or form. And yet, almost every time I've gone out in West Hollywood, even if I wasn't wearing a Zionist shirt, even if I was just wearing my Jewish star and nothing else, I have been called a baby killer. I've been called someone that perpetrates genocide. I have been called every name in the book, and I've even been called a Nazi by Jews, by literal gay Jews that come and tell me that I'm a Nazi. So I guess it's gotten to a point where you can't just look at a keffiyeh and think that that's just an opinion. You look at it and you're like, oh, they're about to accost me in some way.
Right.
And that's the part that sucks, because I can't, it's hard for me to think, oh, there's room for discourse. Like when I see posts right now, this part's great. There's posts by these gay event throwers that literally say, this is an event where we're going to support our martyrs. Masks required. So they're forcing attendees to wear masks because I guess they want to hide their faces.
Weird.
And they will, anytime someone leaves a comment that's remotely pro-Jewish or pro-Zionist, they delete it. And I didn't even get a chance to comment. I think they saw that I viewed their stories and I got blocked.
Whoa.
And these are representatives of the gay community, people that have thousands of followers that go and follow these pages to get the news, to find out, when the next party is, and the next queer party is completely and totally filled with watermelons, keffiyehs, and this whole pro-pally mission. And it's really difficult for me as a gay woman who's a Zionist to have a space in that space. And I'm still trying to figure out how to have conversations with people on that side. That's the part that's really, really difficult.
Yeah, that's so tough. It's one of the obviously, as you know, one of the communities that's been the most ideologically captured has been the gay community. There's really only sort of two options. It's like, can you try to create the space and the possibility for a dialogue or an engagement, or not? And I don't, there's no judgment either way, but like, I'm thinking of somebody who I know who is a stage actor, and he was in a play in rehearsal, and there was a person in keffiyeh on the first day. He was super uncomfortable. Should I go to the management? Should I say something? Whatever. He decided not to say anything, and he just continued to be his Jewish self. And he like did a Shabbat one time, and she attended it, and like she ended up being like very open and chill with him. I don't think they ever talked about Israel or whatever, but they came to, because he didn't shut that door and left it open and just like sort of kept doing his thing, they found a way to connect. And she came to respect, because a lot of these people, well, not all of them, but a lot of them, like, they don't, I would say for sure, like, nobody thinks of themselves, oh, I'm an anti-Jew racist. Like, a lot of that group doesn't,
Sure, but then my question is, how many of them would hide me if the Holocaust happened again?
That's a different question.
So it's like, okay, great, we can get past the layer of, like, in-your-face hate. We can get to a point where they want to share a meal, or they like my food, or they want to have a bagel and cream cheese with me. But are they still gonna, and that's the part where I feel like we as Jews, at least I've noticed in history, we get to that point, okay, we're not allowed somewhere, so we create our own space. We make our own space open to everybody because that's how it should be. And then everybody comes in, then we no longer have our own space.
Right.
And then again, the universe reminds us that we need to have our own space. And I guess, like, at what point do we just have to stop playing that same old song? Can we always make sure to put our safety first, in that having a good conversation with someone and having a calm or peaceful interaction doesn't equal being safe and protected either.
Right.
And it's like, I think there's a part of me that also wants to know that the people that are in my life are going to care about me beyond just having a cordial conversation, that they want to make sure that I'm alive and not, taken off to the concentration camp. So like maybe that's an extreme perspective, but I don't know.
I have a lot of thoughts about that. I think that's a lot of interesting points. I think in terms of the hide me part, there's probably a lot of people in a lot of people's lives who wouldn't. And again, it sort of comes down to like, how important is that relationship? Do you want to, do you love this person enough to try to, help them understand what you're looking to them to be, or not? And you need to get, better friends. There's that piece of it. And then like the other thing you made me think of is basically, I think in terms of the our own space and the security and all of it, I think it needs to be an and, not an or. To me, it's sort of like Israel, right?
Okay.
Right. So like, we have Israel.
Yeah.
And so we have our America as Americans, and we have Israel. And so I feel like if, God forbid, America went to shit, we could go to Israel. We do have our own club that we can go to.
Sure.
But we're not running to it yet and saying we're out. We're still here, and we're trying to do our thing here in a way that is, collaborative and cooperative and coalition building and all of that. I think it's the same on the human to human level. It's like, I think it is important that we have our own Jewish spaces and that we not shy away from those. And it doesn't just have to be a synagogue. Like, we're allowed to do, and this I think speaks to what you're hinting at, is like, we should have more, whatever, like, this is a weed club just for Jews, guys. Like, we're allowed to just do that the way other cultures also do that. And we sort of have always been sort of like afraid to do that a little bit, I feel like.
Of course.
So we should have that, and we should do the other stuff too, because we do want to be part of the fabric of this country and society, and we do want coalitions, and we do have friends.
Yeah.
So I think it's both, but I do think the shift would be feeling okay about also having Jewish places where we feel super secure, which also then like gives us more confidence to then go out into those other spaces too.
Yeah.
So like, it was reminded me of one more thing. Like when you think about kids on college campuses, what I've learned is the kids who are doing the best, even if they're really hostile campuses, are the ones that have strong Jewish communities also on that campus. So as long as they have a place where they can go and feel safe and recharge, and they have friends and like they've got all of that, then they're good to go out and face the enemy. Yeah. It's when they don't have that other piece that things really go to shit.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. You have to have a strong foundation and something to really bring you back to the core of things. So,
and it's like you said, it's security. I mean, you need a place to feel safe so that you can do the things you need to do. If there's no sense of safety, like there's no, your feet will never be on solid ground.
I agree. Well, I'll say as we're wrapping up, I think that everything that you've done has definitely helped someone in this world feel safe.
I hope that's true.
I'm grateful to it. Thank you for hanging out and
anytime.
all that.